Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is Ahmad Darwish. Today, me and my friend Syed Naquib will be representing our group, which is Group 4, to present about the decision science in Islamic perspective. The two techniques that we have chosen are the decision analysis technique and the forecasting technique. Alright, the first technique is decision analysis technique. To support our discussion, we have quoted Surah Al-Imran verse 159, which means, "So, by mercy from Allah, O Muhammad, you were lenient with them, and if you had been rude in speech and harsh in heart, they will have disbanded from about you. So, pardon them and ask forgiveness for them, and consult them in the matter, and when you have decided, then rely upon Allah. Indeed, Allah loves those who rely upon Him." In this verse, there is an Arabic word that we want to highlight, which is washawirhum. Based on Tafsir Ma'riful Quran, washawirhum means he asks for advice and counsel in something that needs deliberation. In Islamic law, it concerns seeking consultation. A person who intends to do something, then he should go for consultation and come up with a decision to do or not to do, and finally get from Allah Almighty guidance towards an option which is correct and beneficial. So how does this verse relate to the decision analysis technique? Basically, decision analysis is a technique to determine the most preferred option based on uncertainty in the future. There are two categories of the technique, which are the technique which we can use based on whatever information that we have, or technique that we can use based on by first getting additional information. Thus, it is consistent with washawirhum, which encourages us to get advice or consult others so that we can make a better decision. To support a little bit more of our argument, let me tell you this. Decision analysis technique guide us as a decision maker to choose the best strategy or option when we have several alternatives in our hands. Meanwhile, this verse asks us to consult with the others. Therefore, we can justify that decision analysis technique is a good technique, since Allah already suggested through this verse one of the matters in decision analysis technique, which is to improve accuracy of decision made. To make the best possible decision, we must seek additional information, such as consulting an expert. From Islamic perspectives, in terms of decision making with different opinions or options, according to the Holy Quran and Hadith, Shura is one of the most important elements in decision making. This was being practiced by the Prophet during the Battle of Uhud. The story is generally about the Prophet consulted companions if they should defend Madinah by staying inside the city boundaries, or should they go out of the city and confront the enemy in the open. And the general opinion of the companions said they should go for the second one, just confront the enemy in the open, and this was what was accepted to do. It is very consistent with the underlying concept under decision analysis, and this story also proves that consultation plays a very important role when we want to choose the best strategy in making decisions. Furthermore, we also would like to strengthen our arguments by including another verse from Quran, which is from Ashura verse 38, which means, "And those who have responded to the Lord and have established prayer, and whose affairs are settled by mutual consultation between them, and who spend out of what we have given to them." Allah once again emphasizes that consultation is a crucial part in making any decision when He mentioned about it again in this verse. From this verse, the Almighty Allah encouraged the Prophet to use shura as part of the process in Islamic political system. Other than building a strong relationship among the members who are involved in the discussion, it also allows common people to participate in the decision-making process and create various possible alternatives. As a result of the consultation process, the best strategy in decision-making will be achieved. Hence, one of the significant lessons that these two verses teach us is that these verses mention the foundation of decision making for all Muslims, which is consultation. It is good if we can take advice from our family, friends, and teachers before we make any important decision in our life.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Naquib, and for this video I'll be talking about the Islamic perspective on the forecasting technique. The verse that we have found that relates to it is Surah Luqman, verse 34, which means, "Indeed, Allah alone has knowledge of the hour and sends down the rain and knows what is in the wombs, and no soul perceives what it will earn tomorrow, and no soul perceives in what land it will die. Indeed, Allah is knowing and acquainted." In this verse, the word that we want to highlight is the word ilmus sa'ah. Based on the tafsir, Ma'riful Quran, it means that nobody knows when exactly the hour of doomsday will come. Only Allah knows it. Therefore, it is useless to ask the Prophet or predict when the occurrence is. Instead, man should prepare himself for this doomsday rather than keep guessing, because it will definitely come in a particular time. But before that, let me explain briefly on what forecasting means. Forecasting is the ability to predict future outcomes based on past events and management insights. Among the characteristics of forecasting is that it is planned based on facts. People use information and data to forecast future events such as weather, market volatility, and others. When forecasting is done before deciding, people can be more well equipped with the possible outcomes that may happen. A second characteristic is that people learn from past mistakes. The thing about forecasting is that you don't really start over after each forecast. Even if your prediction can be completely wrong, it is often a step towards something else. It is important to develop a habit of reflecting on your overall performance in the past. The third characteristic is that it can reduce risk. Forecasting can be used to plan for risk mitigation by anticipating all the possible outcomes to be well prepared for the future. A smart person would have different plans for different outcomes to be well prepared, which reduces risk. Alright, so now let's move on to the example. Alright, so let's say that Mrs. Balkis establishes a company that sells and delivers office supplies. She wants to be certain that enough employees and vehicles are available to deliver the orders promptly and that enough inventory is in stock. So, Mrs. Balkis wants to forecast the demand for delivery for the next month. So, to solve this problem, Mrs. Balkis uses the forecasting technique, simple moving average, to determine the number of demand of deliveries for the next month. Forecasting technique helps Mrs. Balkis to determine the right number of deliveries for the next month. Now, on to the discussion. It is natural for us as humans to attempt to predict future events, to adapt to them in advance, because survival is important for humans. An example of a field that emphasizes on it is the business industry. They often talk about their sales not meeting their forecasts or being confident that their economic forecasts are expected to exceed their targeted earnings. But why do they mention these so frequently? Well, it's because forecasting is important to develop business strategies. Financial and operational decisions are made based on economic conditions and how the future looks, although the key point here is that all of this is uncertain. Humans can predict as best as they can, looking at all the past data to potentially find a pattern in the environment. But everyone needs to be reminded that it is merely an intellectual prediction, not a prophecy. Ultimately, it is up to Allah to decide what will or will not happen, and only Allah completely knows what awaits us in the future. Some examples that have been brought up from the Quran are the fact that people cannot 100% predict when it will rain, they cannot exactly determine the physical features that their offsprings will get from their parents, and humans will not know their exact death date even if the doctors give them predictions. To conclude, people can use their intellect to make intellectual predictions based on the historical data and information that they have acquired from past experiences and make the best choices for their future. But what they have to keep in mind is that ultimately, the future is completely controlled by Allah, and He has the power of what will happen in the future. for He is the all-knowing. As humans, we often wait in anxiety for a good outcome after pouring our best efforts into what we do. As Muslims, it is upon us to have tawakkul in what He appoints for us. By doing so, we save ourselves from anxiety and sadness and remain hopeful in His bounty. And that's all from our group. Thank you for sticking throughout the whole video. Assalamu alaikum.